Introduction to wire bending. So for your orthodontics wire bending practical, you need the following things: a clean glass slab, a clean Macintosh, 3 pliers, a wire cutter, a marking pencil or a permanent marker, and 4 grades of wires starting from 19 gauge, 21 gauge, 22 gauge, and 23 gauge. So the wires are round stainless steel wires that are graded according to their diameters. So a 19 gauge wire is the thickest wire. A 21 gauge wire is thinner than a 19 gauge wire but thicker than a 22 gauge wire. A 22 gauge wire is something that is thinner than a 21 gauge wire but thicker than a 23 gauge wire. 23 gauge wire is the thinnest wire that we use. So usually thinner gauge wires are used for making retractors and springs, while the thicker gauge wires like the 19 gauge wires is used for making U clasp or C clasps, while the 22 gauge wires are used for making Adams clasp. Labial bows are usually made in a 21 gauge wire. So initially you have on plane submissions that need to be made, for which you need a glass slab and paper outlines. These are the pliers that are required. This is known as a universal plier. This has a square beak, so it has a square cross section and it has a round beak. Okay, it is used for most of the wire bendings. This is a Adams plier. It has 2 square beaks. Usually this is used for making Adams clasp. This is a half round plier used for giving circular bends. And this is a wire cutter which is used for cutting excess wires.